Welcome to Let's Talk Money Honey, the podcast where we break down the world of investing and wealth building for women who are ready to control their financial futures. We're your hosts, Elise Levy of Legacy Wealth Planning
and Holly Henry of Diamond Legacy Wealth Management. We're two financial advisors on a mission to empower and educate women so they can build confidence, work towards growing their wealth, and pursue their biggest investment goals. Investing isn't just for Wall Street, it's for you. Whether you're just getting started or looking to level up your portfolio, we're here to make investing approachable, fun, and totally doable. So grab your coffee
or your wine and let's talk money, honey.
Do you want me to start the intro?
I always want you to start. You do such a good job.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to... Okay, I'm going to restart. I already don't like that.
I jinxed you.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Money, Honey, the podcast where we talk about all things financial. And we are continuing today on our decade series. We did our teens, our 20s, and now we're going to kind of do a combo of our 30s and 40s. But what we're really talking about is the sandwich generation. So for people who might not know Holly, or maybe have heard it but don't really understand it, give us a good definition of like what the sandwich generation is.
The sandwich generation is for those of us that have kids at home, but are also dealing with aging parents. It's like and I would say for those of us that have parents that are not doing well, and I'm going to use my dad as an example. I have my little kids, and then I call him my big kid because I'm literally having to do everything for him. And there's several of us I feel like are in this generation, and it can be anywhere from early 30s to even some of the 50s. I've dealt with clients that, their kids are college or a little bit older, but it varies over a wide span.
100%. And like with this generation, obviously it's like you have a lot on your plate. So not only are you thinking about yourself and providing for your family, getting your kids set up for success, but you're also now dealing with aging parents as they transition into that final stage of life, which unfortunately has a lot to do with money, and money plays a big role in that. So that's what we're kind of going to discuss today, is the money side of things, because unfortunately money rules our lives. So let's start with kids, because in a lot of ways they're actually a little bit simpler. So Holly, take it away.
Yeah, so there are I feel like this is one of our soapboxes that we can talk about for hours and hours, but we're not. First off, let's talk about college savings plans. There are a few different types of plans that we can look into. I think the great thing about 529s is there's now flexibility to these plans. So now, one, you can change the beneficiary, because I have parents that come in here and say, Bobby Joe may not be going to college. What's going to happen with all this money? Well, a couple of options. You could change the beneficiary, or at some point that money could be rolled into a Roth IRA. It doesn't mean that this money is forfeited on. So great plans to consider. I know in the state of Arkansas, there is state tax incentives. What about your state, Elise?
Yeah, Nevada works a little bit differently because we're a income tax free state.
Oh.
Yes, okay. But I did want to bring up with 529s, another great thing about them is anyone can contribute to a 529. It doesn't have to be the owner. So I have a lot of younger parents who are, just like, I don't know how to say, maybe eco-conscious, but we're in an age where there's so many toys and just crap you can get for your kids. So a lot of my younger parents have set up 529s, and at Christmas and the kid's birthday, they're like to the grandparents, hey, contribute to their 529 instead of getting junk that they don't need, which I think is genius.
Yeah, and if you're just absolutely not wanting to do a 529 plan, we have what's called UTMAs, and these are just basically accounts for minors, and it goes into that child's name. Any gains are taxed at their tax level. There's a variety of accounts that we can get to kids. And then, we also have done videos on custodial Roth IRAs and the benefits of them, and we will not go into the weeds about it, but this is definitely something that if you have questions, definitely reach out to us, because we love, like, it is my passion to see these young kids start at a very young age talking about stocks and investing and all the different ways to invest. I mean, if you can set the foundation for your financial literacy while they're still in the home, you're really just setting them up for financial success down the road.
Absolutely. And like, unfortunately, as a society, the US does not teach enough financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
So, it falls on the job of the parents to really teach that. So it's so important, and just like walking through like how you do budgeting or
Mm-hmm.
giving your kids an allowance and having them start understanding the concept of money. Those are all really great things to do. And we're always happy to, I know with my long-term clients, we have meetings where we bring the kid in and just tell them everything
Mm-hmm.
that we kind of work on together and discuss and answer their questions. And not every meeting, but once every couple of years, it's a great
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for them to understand the world of investing and kind of start dipping their toe in.
Yes,
Another
absolutely.
thing I want to bring up is making sure that everything looks good on the paperwork side. So I know life gets busy. If you have another kid, making sure you're adding them as beneficiary,
Mm-hmm.
making sure your trusts are getting up to date so the guardianship is who you want it to be. Those things you should look at annually, I would say, just to make sure that it's
Mm-hmm.
exactly how you want it to be. Because I know kids age like that, and then it's out of sight, out of mind, and maybe you forgot along the way to update things.
Absolutely. And we say that all the time anyways, because families change. Divorce happens. Blended families happen. It's like, it's so important to make sure that all this paperwork is up to date. But one of the things that we always say is planning for your kids. It is important. But we have both had situations to where parents have come in here wanting to plan for their kids, but they're neglecting to plan for their own retirement. And that really has to come first. The one thing that I don't recommend doing is neglecting to put money back for your retirement, because at the end of the day, Social Security, from what I can already see, it's not enough. It's not enough. So you don't want to be a financial burden to your kids down the road.
Absolutely. And it's like we always talk about putting on your, you know, air mask, oxygen mask on the plane
Yes.
before you put on your kids. And like the best thing you can do for your kids is to prepare for your own retirement and make sure that they don't have to financially take care of you, which kind of leads us into the next topic of like your parents. And did they
Mm-hmm.
do those steps? And if they did do those steps, are you going to help them follow their plan out? And if not, then like you might be financially obligated to take care of your parents. So you have another financial strain on you.
Yeah, and as someone, for those of you that may not know, my dad is in the nursing home right now. Like, we're at the very end of his life. And I feel like we had a lot in order, and then here we are seeing like all the red flags that we did not have in order, and we're trying to address it, and it gets really expensive really fast. And one of the things that I know, it is a very, very difficult to talk to parents about, but you need to know if there's a death box somewhere that has wills, funeral plans, insurance policy, where if they have any investment accounts, their bank accounts, um, what they want done with their assets. These are very, very hard questions, but as someone who is dealing with end of life at this phase, I'm glad that my dad and I have had these conversations, because my brother and I can step in now as his power of attorney and fulfill his wishes.
Absolutely. And I think like not waiting until the crisis happens would be my advice.
Mhm.
And it's like have these conversations when your parents are of sound mind and of good health. And like even what Holly said, it's like help them make a death box and be like, okay, let's just like get the info on your financial advisor, your accountant, and your estate attorney,
Mhm.
and like have that in the box. Have know where the accounts are. If most kids are going to be their parent successor trustees, understand how that works, read through the trust, understand their medical incentives. and have that conversation. And like, it's very uncomfortable, but I think it's like, it's good for everyone because you get to fulfill their wishes as they want, and you get to all be on the same page. And unfortunately, death is really complicated. And that's like what people don't tell you. And we see it all the time in our job. And it's, the successor trustee, unfortunately, it is a bit of a burden. You have to track down all these assets. You have to make sure they get to the right person. A lot of times it involves selling the home and selling all the furniture and all these things that are really hard. That could be easier with some conversations ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And as we mentioned a minute ago, we have children come in, minor children come in with their parents at the same time. With our especially senior citizen clients, a lot of them start bringing in their adult children so that they know exactly how their money is managed. It's hard, especially when someone passes away and you don't even know what they have. And I think Elise and I have both went through those meetings where we're meeting with clients after the death of their parents going, this is the balance, this is a surprise. And that's when you are grieving over the loss of a parent, you try and take out as much emotional stuff as you can. So if you can start there when they are senior citizens, kind of going through their finances, figuring it out, you're going to appreciate that in the long run.
Absolutely. And like having those conversations, like if one parent passes away, do you want to stay in your home? Do you see yourself in assisted living in a more social environment? Like these are all really good conversations to have that aren't always pleasant, but unfortunately, I think, Holly and I see a lot of times with our clients, we're like, they never talked about it until it happened. And that's what I'm saying. Like now we're in crisis mode and it's a lot harder.
It's a lot harder. And the only other thing that I really want to mention is beneficiary deeds on properties is so, so, so important, especially in the state of Arkansas. I'm guessing probably in your state too. Like if you don't have a beneficiary deed in the state of Arkansas, you're going to be going through probate, most likely. And you need to make sure on your personal estate, but especially aging parents' estate, that the proper deeds are in place so you're not having to go through probate. Again, losing a parents is so difficult, so emotional. The last thing you want to do is to go through probate.
Absolutely. And I think just like thinking of more so getting ready to pass on your stuff to your children, one thing I would say is consolidation. Again, like when you're of sound mind and health, I have clients who were in their 60s and they had all these different IRAs and 401ks everywhere, and we're just consolidating them all into a few accounts in one place because it's not really for them, it's for their children. Because when a kid goes and sits down and looks at 10 different statements at 10 different financial institutions, they're like, what do I do? So thinking about simplifying.
Yes, and I will also say I've had people in my office that say, I think my mom or dad had an account somewhere. How do we find out?
How often do we hear that?
There is no way to look that up. Like if you don't have the records, you're going to end up calling several different banks. Chances are they're not going to talk to you. You're not the person on the account. It's an entire mess. And if they're not notified that the person's passed away, that broker dealer, that bank doesn't know that this money needs to be divided up. So basically, if you don't consolidate or keep very good records of what you have, your kids may not get the money at all because there's no one telling them that it needs to be sent to the beneficiaries.
Absolutely. And like it is kind of on the job of the family to track it down. Like no one's going to show up at your door with a check for $50,000.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. And it is so bad because I know that I've had clients that are like, we're pretty sure we're losing money because we can't find the account. But at this point, it's like, I don't know what to tell them. I have no idea how to track that down. It's not like there's a website that says you can go into and find these missing accounts. It's in a lot of ways just gone.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I feel like we're really hitting home on communication.
Yes, absolutely. So now we are going to communicate about what you need to do about your own financial health, because we've talked about parents, we've talked about your children. But again, like I mentioned, so many people neglect their own personal financial situation, because when you're dealing with everything, and I can just speak to my own experience, your plate's full. Like, I get that that just kind of gets shoved to the side. You're having to focus on your littles and your parents and a job and just trying to survive. And I 100% get that, but it's got to become a priority.
Absolutely. And I think like I kind of think of it in terms of self-care, and it's like you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others, and I really really
Mm-hmm.
really believe that. And the
Yes.
number one thing we're going to tell you, and if you haven't noticed, we say it in every episode, the most important thing you could do financially is have an emergency fund. Like,
Mm-hmm.
end of day.
Mm-hmm.
So having 6 months of your expenses set aside, including mortgage, including grocery, utilities, insurance, that is going to create such financial safety in your mind and take off that load of anxiety that it is just like, it's so important. And it's really like the core of all the advice we give is like having that really strong base.
Yes, absolutely. So once you get your emergency fund, it is definitely time. Retirement accounts. Hopefully your job offers one. But if not, then you need to reach out and let's look at traditional IRAs or Roth IRAs. Let's get something in place for you that's for that retirement. And a lot of people think it's too late, it's going to take too much money, but I would rather someone start small and at least have a small account than just be like, forget it, it's just not going to happen.
Absolutely, because like you do want to retire, and I think
Mm-hmm.
people are like, "Oh, well, I'll just work forever." And it's like realistically you're not. At some time some medical thing is going to come up or physical thing and you won't be able to work. So that's why we do this.
Yes, absolutely. And again, as we've said a few times, we don't want you to be a burden on your children. So it's like you've got to put that money aside. If an employer has a match, be sure to at least be able to get that match. But honestly, Elise and I do a lot of financial planning. And if you have a goal that you want to have at retirement, reach out to us so we can just make sure that you're putting enough money back. I mean that's a big deal. Is a lot of people just do the bare minimum because they don't know what to do. And as you get older, the bare minimum just may not be enough if you're wanting to retire early or retire with a good, healthy financial lifestyle.
Absolutely. And like we always say, it's like increase what you're doing contribution
Mm-hmm.
wise by 1% a year, kind of put it on cruise control, and build up to where you're hitting that maximum contribution limit every year. Because it has so many great advantages. One, it's your money, it's there for retirement. It also lowers your taxable income. So hopefully you owe less with the IRS, but all in all, just so important.
Mm-hmm.
The other part we want to talk about is insurance. So, always looking at how much you're paying, making sure it's appropriate for you, you're not overpaying. We were just before we hopped on the call. A
Yes.
lot of people's premiums have just skyrocketed over the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I know in my area, a big thing is fire insurance. So a lot of people got canceled a few years ago. And then when they went to re up it, it is like twice as expensive now for their home insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding all of that and really making sure like you know what you're paying for and trying to just negotiate it as best you can, I would say.
Yeah, and I would say for those of us, like, it's just me and my two kids, and we're both healthy. We rarely go to the doctor. In fact, I looked last year, my daughter went once to the walk-in and once when she fell in volleyball. We thought she broke her wrist, and she didn't. She's good. But there is no point, I'm going to be honest, in me paying as much in health insurance if I can get a high deductible plan and then get an HSA. Those of you that are not going to the doctor all the time, an HSA may be the way to go. Put money back for these medical bills. I mean, again, this is a good tax incentive. It's not like a flexible spending account where you lose the majority of it at the end of the year. This is something you can carry year to year to year. In fact, I mean, I've had clients that have carried it into Medicare years. So it doesn't expire. Again, great benefit. Look into it because like we said, health insurance premiums are going up. I feel like insurance as a whole, like Elise said, home, vehicle, health, you can't live
It's
without it, but it's
expensive.
hard to afford. So that's the reality we're
100%.
facing on that.
And kind of going more into insurance, making sure that you're protecting your income and your spouse's. So maybe one of you is a bigger breadwinner than the other. So making sure that you have like disability insurance, and there's different kinds. It's like there's kind of more general and then there's more very specific. So just in case one of you can't work for a period of time, you still have that income coming in. And then also just hitting like estate planning again. I know we mentioned it earlier, but if you have kids and you have a house, it's time to have a trust. So getting that set up, getting that paperwork set up, knowing who your children's guardians would be in worst case scenario. Again, just like I think we talk about it a lot, and it's like it's a lot of effort at first, but the financial stability and just like I don't know, the relief you feel after doing all this work and having your finances be set up is there's no price tag on that.
Absolutely. And I talk to so many people my age, and they don't feel like they need to be planning for death now. And unfortunately, especially if you're a single parent, um, as soon as my divorce was done, I went ahead and just set up a trust because I thought if something happens to me, I don't want my minor children to be getting all this stuff at a young age. And it's just something that we have to face. Trust, it may not be for everyone, but I do feel like there has got to be proper estate planning. And so many people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, they don't think about it because they don't feel like it's that season of life, but accidents happen. And again, you just need to make sure that your loved ones are taken care of.
Absolutely. And I think it's like, do it and then it's done and you don't have to think about it anymore. And
yes,
maybe we're just in our face death all the time with our job, maybe. I don't know. We're jaded. But like it's so worth it. And I think I'm not going to say peace of mind, but just knowing that you've done the steps and if something does happen, there's a plan. I think that is worth its weight in gold.
Yes, absolutely. So I think the last thing that we were going to just kind of discuss is just finding balance, because I feel like this group, it is very, very hard to find balance. And I know I'm living it. We are all, I feel like, just kind of in it. I just sometimes feel like I'm just drowning and I don't know which way to turn. And at this age, financial, emotional burnout, super real. And you've just got to be taking care of things.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up what you said to me, Holly, because I thought it was so good. A lot of people think like, to refill my cup, I have to plan this big vacation or whatever. But Holly wants to take time off to clean up her house.
Yes.
And I was like, what a good idea.
Yes, I'm going to probably just take a couple hours to go clean my house without my kids there. And I'm very fortunate that we can just walk away from our job and do that. But I feel like if my house is out of and it's completely out of order. This is not just a little bit. Like it is crazy right now. We're in that season of like we're just going from sports to sports and we're not home. Yeah. And so I don't have time to clean it. And so to me it's like finding the time to clean my house and then decorate for Christmas. So there's some of that's gonna be that because that makes me happy.
I love that. Well, and I think like we do live in a hustle culture in America. Like we just do. And my husband and I were talking about it and he was like, oh, I have so many employees that haven't used their PTO this year. And I'm like, that is crazy to me. So even if you don't do a big vacation or something, taking time off is important.
Oh,
you
100%.
have to recharge.
100% that you do. And I think it's also important to delegate. And I am probably single parenting, so I feel like I'm horrible about this, but I do not delegate very well. But there are just easy ways, especially like I have a wonderful tribe. Like my mom will step in at any point and get my kids. All I have to do is ask. Sometimes it's just those simple tasks that just go a long ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like relying on your tribe a little bit, asking for help. I'm throwing this in there, working with a financial advisor, working with a CPA. Like we always tell our clients, get your team in order because then like we're worrying for you. So it's one less thing you have to worry about.
Yes. And it's so good when you have your financial advisor in place. If your parents are not working with a financial advisor, bring them in. When your kids are young, bring them in. I mean, I know that I work with several generations, at least I know you do too, it is nice when we can just get the family in and everybody on the same page.
100%. Couldn't agree more. So I think that's a good wrap on the sandwich generation. Our video is long because you guys have a lot on your plate, but I think that overall, just maintaining balance, taking time for yourself, and just knowing that you're doing a heck of a job, that's pretty good.
Yes. So don't forget we have a free newsletter that goes out once a month. Be sure and sign up for that. Just DM us your email. We'll gladly get you signed up. And don't forget to go back and rewatch the other videos that we have already put out there.